Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the next video. My name is Lionheart and coming at you today with my Legends replay. As you can see, done with the whole Legends day. Every day in Legends, if you're unfamiliar, you get 8 attacks against some of the top bases. And the better that you do, the more trophies that you gain, the better the bases that you see the next day. Looking at my attack log today, nothing super special. Anything over 200 is a decent day. 280 I think is a good day. 320 obviously being the perfect day. You know, that's 8 triples across the board. But as you can see, started off the day with 3 out of the first 4 attacks as triples. And then after that, starts to peter out. The attacks are okay, and then the last 2 are pretty tough. 53%, and then that last 1 star really got me. As a 93% 1 star, just left up the Town Hall and a few things around it. Usually in Legends, I try to take Queen Charge Hybrid. I think that's the most versatile attack strategy in the game. But I watched the Clash of Clans World Qualifiers of this last weekend, and Queen Charge Hybrid was the #1 most popular attack, but right behind that, and a little bit more successful depending on the metrics that you look at, was Zaplalo. And that's something I've been trying out a lot in War recently, and I've really been enjoying it, and so I wanted to take it into Legends, try and get to be a little bit more comfortable with the attack. The next full attack guide that you'll see on this channel will be for the Queen Charge Hybrid, but then soon after that we're hoping to post a comprehensive attack guide for Zaplalo. But we'll go through a few of these replays, see the triples, see what you're supposed to do, what's good, what works, and then look at one of these last replays and see what doesn't. The problem right now with taking Zaplalo into Legends especially is that it's pretty easy to build a base around it. And especially once you get into the higher tiers of Legends, you'll see bases more and more often built around that. And we'll come across that here at the end of the video, and maybe you guys can give me some advice about, what to have done differently. But before we get started, this is the army. This is what I take into Legends. I think this is the most versatile usage that you can have. The first thing that you want to do with a Zaplalo is take out the enemy clan castle and whatever defenses are around it. You can do some variants of Zaplalo where you bring, maybe 5 zaps instead, 5 zaps and a quake, whatever, and take out certain buildings for pathing. But if you want to take out the clan castle, you have to do 7 zaps, 1 quake, and that's what we do. 3 hastes afterwards, because it's pretty important to make those balloons as quick as you can. And then I bring Rage in the clan castle. That's another area of debate. It is just better to bring 2 freezes. But if you can't take out the Town Hall with either your heroes or a reliable path for your Lalo, then you want to make sure that you bring that Rage, so that if you use a blimp to get to the Town Hall and there's any amount of DPS over top of the blimp, you have a Rage, and those 5 balloons, that 1 dragon, will definitely take out the Town Hall if they're under Rage. If there's not a lot of DPS around it, you can use 1 freeze. If there's no DPS around the Town Hall, that clan castle will take it out on its own, and so you don't have to bring that Rage. It is definitely excessive, but when you're coming into Legends, you don't know the base that you're going to be looking at, and maybe there is this Town Hall that is a lot of DPS around it. Nothing else that you can do besides bring that Rage. So I think it's what you have to do. Maybe you can disagree with me, and that'd be fine. Definitely, if you're doing this in War, you want to target a base where you can afford to bring two freezes instead of 1 Rage. And then as far as the army goes, we bring 1 Ice Golem to help out with the Sui hero entry, 6 Wall Breakers as well, 1 Headhunter, and there are some pretty creative uses for that, and then a Baby Dragon to funnel for your Sui heroes. The rest of it gets dedicated to a Lalo. You can tweak this however way you want, but this is what I take into Legends. So let's go ahead and look at the first replay. All right, so coming into the first replay of the day, we find a base that's honestly not the best design. It's pretty maxed out, which we got that going for us in terms of the attack strategy, but here we see just a very loose ring, lots of value, all chunked up right next to everything else, and really not a lot of thought that it seems went into this design. It's even accessible for a queen walk on any single corner. So as you're looking at any base that you're doing Zaplalo, you see the clan castle, and you want to see how much value you can get around it. The clan castle and the Eagle artillery have similar hit points. It takes 7 zaps and a quake to take out both of those, and so when we drop the quake, we know that we want it to be over top of both of them. and then the zap will have to be somewhere in between the buildings. And we can cheat one way or another, but it will have to be close enough to target both of those if we want to take out the eagle. The other option is to drop our zaps right in between the expos, and then cheat some towards the wizard towers. But instead, what I choose to do is drop the zaps right in between. And you can see I dropped them kind of slow to be deliberate about it and make sure I got the right range, but to drop it right on the side of the clan castle between the eagle and the wizard tower. It's got 5 tile range horizontally and vertically, 3 tile range diagonally. I think that graphic has been spread around pretty well. It is something that you should know if you're taking zaps into a base. And so if you drop it right in the middle of the clan castle, it'll have a 5 tile range, and that will touch the buildings on either side of the clan castle. And so by dropping it right in the middle and then cheating it right on the side so that it would touch the wizard tower too, so that it would have the range outwards to reach the wizard tower, we're able to cut a pretty good chunk of the base out right there. The eagle, a wizard, and an expo. Really all that we can afford to take out with it. Drop my ice golem, a couple wall breakers behind, and then the king and the queen. And this is probably the biggest update to my Zaplalo in recent time. I dropped my queen a little bit later to make sure that she paths in as well as she can. Her pathing can still be a little unpredictable, but for this base there wasn't a great place to drop my baby drag. But I used to drop my royal champ with my heroes most of the time. You can get a lot of good value if you drop your royal champ in at about this point. It'll definitely, the buckler that she shoots off, it'll get some good value out on the core. But here we see with just the king and the queen, we're able to take out an entire half of the base, just about, and take out the enemy queen. The enemy king stays up, but that's okay. Not really what we're worried about in a Lalo. The king can't target your army. But if you had dropped the champ at that point, the king definitely would have gone down, and then maybe a couple other buildings before the champ went down too. Instead, I'm going to wait until the back end of the attack, especially when we get close to this, the enemy royal champ. Want to make sure that we've got things left to deal with that, because that can be pretty difficult for your Lalo, especially if the enemy champ is just raining down on your balloons the whole time. But here you can see a pretty standard Lalo deployment. I cheat that rage to cover the troops that will come out of the blimp. My spell placement is just okay. It's not perfect for this attack. And then the headhunter comes out to try and get towards the royal champ here in a minute. But I save my champ here until about the end of the raid. I make sure that my balloons are taking out this single target before the champ even gets in range, so that I don't lose my champ to that single target. And then the champ just tries to funnel this back end, make sure that the balloons are all pathing in about the right direction, and then the champ will also eventually work its way towards the enemy champ, which I dropped my headhunter. Headhunter was able to take it out, ended up not being a big deal, but if the enemy champ was still alive, would have saved my champ to be able to take it out. My champ ends up going down, I believe, right here to the enemy king, but it uses its ability, takes out all of the defenses, and then with the cleanup, it is smooth sailing from there. We'll talk a little bit more about spell placement in one of the next replays, but that's probably the biggest takeaway from this video, is that the way that you use your champ is going to make or break a Zaplalo. Spell placement as well, there are a lot of things that can make or break a Zaplalo, but if you use your champ at the beginning, it better be to take out the town hall. And you better need it to take out the town hall. If you're breaking through a couple layers of wall and the town hall's behind all of that and it takes all 3 of your heroes to get to it, then that's a good use of your champ. That's totally fine. But in instances like this, where you could just use it to get some more damage out, maybe not as worthwhile as saving it for the back end, and then you even have a cleanup troop if your champ manages to stay alive for the cleanup. Now here we see a base that's not totally maxed out with the walls, but pretty much everything else looks to be about maxed, and this used to be the meta. This base defends pretty well against Yeti Smash. There's not a great entry point for Yetis, and then this area is also heavily trapped if you decide to start from this area with Yetis, and then they're likely to split off over in these open compartments, depending on how you decide to break open the base. It's also not great for Queen Charge Hybrid, because all of this DPS and all of these heroes right in one spot can be pretty tough for a Queen Charge. You could do it on this base, but it'd be really, really difficult. But this is the perfect base for Zaplalo. Definitely, I think this base was designed before the update. Definitely, I saw a lot more before the update, but here we're going to take advantage of it. So we dropped the Earthquake. Probably shouldn't have activated the Town Hall, but I wanted to get both scatters. And then you'll see where we drop our zap spells. We are damaging the scatter shots while taking out the air sweepers. And that's pretty important, because we made sure each scatter was damaged by every single zap spell that we had, just about, and then dropped them all in the middle, and we were able to take out both scatters, the clan castle, and both sweepers. And here I dropped my headhunter in behind my Sui heroes, because all the heroes were right there. Headhunter ends up going down, so it's not super useful, which is a little bit of a bummer, but ultimately is fine. And I don't need to drop my champ to take out this Town Hall. I know that. Drop the king and the queen, they take out all the heroes. Queen's ability takes out the Town Hall, even takes out almost all of the Tesla farm, and then continues on to take out that gold storage right before she goes down. Actually doesn't take it out, but then is a pretty standard Lalo at this point. I mess up my balloon deployment here. You'll see my Warden is protecting just a couple of balloons, but we make sure to drop the last few there to end up pathing with everything else. And then because the Town Hall went down, we're able to take the Stone Slammer instead of a Blimp, and that's pretty nice. And if that happens in your raid, if you're taking a Slammer, drop it early. Too many times I've waited to drop the Stone Slammer until midway through the attack, kind of to help funnel. You can see I drop my champ here on the 3 o'clock side, and occasionally I'll drop my Slammer in a spot like that where I want it to clean up part of the base. And in reality, the Slammer's a little bit too slow to do that, as well as the champ. And if it's not tanking for your army, you're losing a good chunk of the value from the Slammer. And so here we find one of the Hounds pops, and I use the Warden ability right as they're over top of the enemy champ. The enemy champ is the last thing that will be dealing some uninhibited damage to my army, and so I use the Warden right over top of that, and then I know that my champ will eventually be funneling its way over to the enemy champ. I think enemy champ goes down before then anyway, but here we use the spells as well as we can. All the defenses are pretty well clumped up. There's not too much splash defense left up after taking both scatters out with the Zaplalo, or with the zap portion of the attack, excuse me. And even at all of this point, the Slammer stays up until this, this very last compartment of the base. Slammer tanks so long, even dropping it early to tank for a good chunk of the army. And then here, even the Royal Champ stays alive so that the champ can help clean up afterwards. It's much faster than the balloons. Really, really crucial that your champ stays alive if you have a whole lot of the base left to clean up. But this is just one of the most dominating triples that you can get with Zaplalo, because it's against a base that was designed before this strategy was even invented. And so this is one of the benefits to taking Zaplalo to Legends. You'll still see some bases like this, especially in lower Legends that were designed before the update. But we'll go ahead and look at the last triple that I got today, and is against a base that we all know, and either we love or we hate. This base was made popular at Town Hall 12, and to be honest, it can be a little bit difficult for a Zaplalo. If you look around the clan castle, there's not a ton of great value next to it. The Warden, 1 air defense, 1 expo, it's not terrible, but it's not great value either. It's not, a scatter shot. It's not an eagle. It's not the enemy queen. None of the things that you would hope, not even a sweeper next to it. All of those things are what you hope are going to be next to a clan castle. And then when you're planning an attack for war, you would really want to choose Zaplalo for a base that has those next to the clan castle. But here, we're able to take out all the defenses that are next to it before dropping our Sui heroes on the queen compartment to make sure we take out the enemy queen. And so it's a good little path that we're able to cut. The Ice Golem goes down pretty early, and then the King with his ability is going to be able to go all the way into the enemy Queen, take her out no problem, and then our Queen is going to be able to stay alive. I cheated her a little bit to the south side so that she wouldn't come super close to this single target Inferno. It's not the end of the world. It is on a Queen walk, but not on a Sui hero if she gets targeted by the single Inferno, but it's better if she doesn't. Drop some balloons here, not a lava hound because you don't want the single target inferno to lock onto your lava hound. So I drop some balloons at first, and then 2 hounds the rest of my balloons. And this is probably the best replay to go over spell placement. I drop one here just to make this pack, and then especially the Warden to make sure that they all stay together. That can be okay to drop your spells to make sure that your army stays together, and you're worried more about the pathing of your army than you are the defenses on the base. But really, the way that you want to use your spells, and most of the time when you see a triple with Zaplalo, the way that you will see the spells is to speed things up coming into big splash defense. If you see a scatter shot, if they're multi-target infernos, which aren't on this base, but especially coming into a scatter shot, you need to use your haste. In this case, I use the rage because I know I'm not going to need a rage over top of the town hall, and I can get a ton of balloons under it, and so it worked out for this attack. Usually it'll be your hastes, but you want to make sure you're speeding up into or through splash defense, because if you're not, if you're just doing it to keep your army together, it doesn't matter if your whole army is together, if they're all taking splash damage at once. And so here, one other note, you can see the town hall is about to go down. Usually I would save the rage for this point, but if there's not a lot of DPS over the town hall, and for this base in particular, there's no DPS over the town hall, you don't have to use a rage. You can see my dragon's about full health, despite being blown back by this sweeper. Dragon's about full health and is taking out the town hall. And so you don't have to use the rage over the town hall if there's not much DPS. If there's 1 or 2 defenses that are in range of it, you might need to. But generally speaking, if there's a lot of DPS, that's when you would need to use the rage. And I know that we just talked about using your hastes over top of splash damage, and here we're not. But if you look up, there are just a couple wizard towers there at the end, and then I know my champ is taking out this scatter shot, dropping my champ at this back end of the base to start cleaning up. I'm going to use my Warden ability over top of the enemy champ to try and save a little bit there. I did drop my Headhunter a little bit wrong. He targets the king instead of the champ, and so I waste my Headhunter, and then it makes this attack a little bit closer than it should have been, leaving that royal champ, that enemy royal champ, still up. Using that last haste to get to that last wizard tower, and here it's just a matter of cleanup. And this is the point where we're glad that we saved our champ, because if we used our champ for the entry and the champ wasn't able to assist in the cleanup, even if it took out all the value that it took out in the raid, if we had dropped it at first, that wouldn't have saved the raid. You being able to have the champ for cleanup was really, really nice. Now here's the one bad part about taking Zaplalo into Legends, is that sometimes bases are built against it. This base in particular is a pretty decent base design, and as you're looking through, you can see that some things are really close together, and then it might be good for zaps, and then you see the clan castle. This person has designed their base, I think, 100% against a Zaplalo attack. If I had a couple sneaky gobs, if this was war, this wouldn't be a base that you would want to run in war, because a couple sneaky gobs would take that out, might even take out the town hall, depending on how many you would bring, and then you've got just, whatever you want to do for the rest of the base, a blank slate without a lot of value. But here, this base is built 100% against exactly what I was bringing. And so I'm thinking on my feet a little bit for this attack and not thinking too well. This will go to show how easy it is to build a base against Zaplalo. If you want to, if it becomes the absolute meta in Legends, then this is how you could build a base against it. But as soon as I drop my Ice Golem and I see all of those skeletons, I know there's going to be a problem. I drop my heroes behind, and there's the single target Inferno there. It's frozen right now, but it locks onto the king immediately. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. If you have to drop your champ to take out the town hall, that's okay. Drop your champ to take out the town hall, because it's important to do that and really tough to get through the raid without having a great plan for the town hall. But I was also hoping that the champ would even take out that sweeper with the buckler, and really just didn't do hardly anything that I wanted it to do. And so here, after the zap and after the Sui hero, it would be nice if you're sitting at around 20% base destruction. We're sitting at about 8. Really, there's no path, there's no shape, there's no form in the base at all. And so you'll see I just kind of throw it down. drop a lot of the balloons there. I drop my slammer there to tank up, like we had mentioned, and I do an early warden ability to try and get through all of these things. The enemy queen is still alive. The enemy champ is still alive. So I was dropping the warden ability pretty early to try and make it through some of that. But ultimately, they're not making it through a ton. Dropping my last hound, the last few balloons there on the top side. And then just cleaning up, and you'll see the base gets pretty close to a single star. We end up pushing it out to maybe 52 or 53%, I forget which one. Dropping those wall breakers there to tank for a couple defenses, keep the balloons alive a half second longer. Good habit, but not really a ton of value that you're getting through it. And then we're able to just barely clean up into the 2-star. So that's the one downside to taking Zaplalo. If a base is built against Yeti Smash and you brought Yeti Smash, you can brute force your way into a 2-star pretty easily. If you're taking Queen Charge Hybrid into a base that's designed against Queen Charge Hybrid, you can still brute force your way into a 2-star pretty easily. But at least so far, if you're taking Zaplalo into a base designed 100% against it, it's going to be a really tough time. If you would have hit this base differently, let me know in the comments. I would love to learn from you. And then next time I see this in Legends or a base like it, I can get a better idea of what to do. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you some ideas about Zaplalo. Really, the big things that you want to be mindful of are your spell placement, making sure that you got those hastes over top of splash defenses or leading right up to a splash defense, and then using your champ a little bit later in the raid if you can, or just making sure that you're getting great value out of that champ if you decide to use it early on. I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, the next video that we're planning on putting out is an in-depth attack strategy for Queen Charge Hybrid, and probably the most versatile and still the most popular attack in the game, especially after the World Qualifier event this last weekend. So we're putting out an in-depth attack guide for that as soon as we can. A few videos in between, and after that, a full guide here for Zaplalo. So if you guys have any questions in the meantime, before we get around to that, feel free to let me know in the comments or click any of the links down below and get in touch. But until then, I'm Lionheart. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.